Welcome to another episode of Emotional Nightmares. My name is Tyler.
I'm Nicole.
And on today's episode, we are going to discuss the different forms of recovery, kind of go through a journey. We have a guest with us today. So today we have Sam, and I'm going to allow her to introduce herself. So Sam, first of all, before we dive into the different forms, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So, hey, everyone. I'm Sam. I'm an ex-addict. I'm a person with lived experience. I'm a person in recovery. So I'll give you a little rundown of, like, my story, for lack of better words. But I'm from the Philadelphia area. I was born and raised there. And
What part of Philly?
So suburbia, if anyone's familiar with Montgomery County, that is where I grew up. That's where I was born and raised. So like the Norristown area, and so on and so forth. But that's where my story begins. I was raised out there, like I said, with my siblings, and substances found their way into my life rather quickly. I was like 12 years old when I first tried a substance, and it kind of just went from there. Was
it due to heartbreak? Because at 12 years old, Allen Iverson would have lost the championship.
Come on.
I'm just messing with you.
I was just like, I think the problem was, like, as kids, my siblings and I, like, our parents, they did the best they could with what they were capable of, but they weren't present. So we were just kind of left to fend for ourselves. And there was a lot of neglect in our childhood, just like neglect as far as the absence of love. Even processing emotions, that wasn't something that was, like, done with our family. So we were all, like, set up to completely self-medicate in every form.
Well, what do you mean by the lack of love?
Lack of love. We didn't say I love you. I remember the first time, like, a parent of mine said I love you. I was like 26 years old, and it felt so uncomfortable. We didn't hug each other. Like, we didn't, like, sit down and say, how's your day? Like, there was just no, like, family dynamic of how, like, we typically view the family dynamic.
So basically it was coexisting with grown-ups.
Yes.
Okay.
And, like, from my parents are from the generation of, like, toughen up. There's no such thing as this, and this. Like, you're just supposed to kind of get over yourself, for lack of better words. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of how it was per se growing up. And my outlet as a kid was always my school. Like, I was a really good kid because that's where I put all my energy and my focus. And so, like, from everyone's point of view, it's like, oh, she's a good kid. She gets really good grades in school. She's thriving. And really, I was just, like, experimenting with Percocet, and I was, like, smoking weed every day as a kid. And that progressed into, like, a week after I graduated high school with, like, full ride scholarship to college. That I never used, because a week after I graduated, I tried OxyContin. And
magical pills.
Oh my gosh! And I'll always remember that day. The day, like, my life ultimately went downhill, because it. I think for me personally, my brain truly had a lack of dopamine, because as soon as I got that dopamine, it was like the answers and the problem to, like, all of my problems.
Are you? How do I put it? Are you a pharma kid? Right. So meaning, were you kind of experimenting and then you found oxys, or you were kind of experimenting, but, like, something happened and you got a prescription for oxys?
Never
a prescription?
Okay. I mean, pharma kid? I've never heard of this term. Have you heard of this term?
Well, and I think
I'm making it up.
Oh, okay.
Right? So,
okay,
like, because, like, I'm thinking, like, you know what I mean? Like, we know all the shows and all the shit that pharma's going through, like Purdue or whatever the hell their name is. Yeah. They fucked up our country, right? With oxys, right? So you had all these people that were not on it that all of a sudden now they're on it.
Right.
And it was because they were just prescribing it to everything.
Yeah.
You know, like they are with
That's how
Suboxone
I
now.
got
But
tripped
go
up,
ahead.
But yeah.
Well, and let's not
We'll go
forget-
back. We'll go
Yeah.
up to that.
Let's not forget how we tend to accept those addicts, for lack of better words, over
Yeah.
others, right? The
Yeah.
ones that were
Absolutely.
prescribed. So I'll take the heat. I mean, I had a prescription for Percocet when I was 12 because I had my wisdom teeth like surgically removed.
Sure.
But other than that, no. So anyway, I like to make a point of that. I was never prescribed. I truly just went right into it. And to be completely honest, I knew drugs were bad. There wasn't a part of me that like ever was confused about that. I wanted to just feel relief or like some type of, I guess, artificial happiness for lack. But yeah, I mean, Oxy, the first time I tried Oxy, it was game on. It was every day. There was not a day off. I remember like
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Checks out.
Yeah, and it quickly went to heroin. And, and I don't know if it was like the
Rapidly.
area. Oh my God,
Checks
within
out.
a month.
Well, you're still in Philly at this time, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, at that time, you got Philly. The Philly area is
20-minute
known
drive.
for those double seal bulldogs.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
And it's so much less expensive. Like I remember
absolutely.
when I first, now, and I'm in Pittsburgh, okay? So you figure in Philly, in Pittsburgh, we're paying $3 a hit. So in Philly, at that point, you're probably paying just the same or less.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
A
danger.
lot cheaper, right?
Yeah,
So,
It is a lot.
anyway,
cheaper.
so
Readily available, cheaper.
So we find heroin because it is cheaper. Let's be real.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
that's how everybody usually finds it, right? Because
That's how.
oxys were ridiculously priced, $1 a milligram.
Yeah.
So sometimes 50 cents, right? And then heroin comes along and it was 10 times cheaper.
Right.
So you're going through heroin.
Yep.
Take me from there.
Yeah, and so life, like within a month after I graduated high school, I had gotten to a full-blown fist fight with my sister because I was like annihilated under the influence and was kicked out of my house. And that was kind of like the start of couch surfing. And, always remember like that whole time when my family finally confirmed that like I was in fact using heroin, and how there was never a conversation of like, hey, like, do you need help? Can we get you help? Blah, blah, blah. It was just like, oh shit, like she's got to go. And that's, so I just started couch surfing with friends, really got like that moment was when I got into the game on a level that like I never knew before. So
you're homeless.
yes.
Right? Let's use that term.
Yes.
And I say that because, we have a lot of listeners, and one of the things I see a lot, like I'll get clients a lot. Well, I'm not that bad. And it's like, no, man, you're homeless, right?
Yes.
Just because you're like, do you have a home? Right. And if you're jumping from couch to couch or, I'm staying at a friend's or something, you are homeless.
Right.
Like you might not be
Just
under a
like
bridge
it. Yeah.
or living on the streets, but you are still homeless.
Yes.
Right. So you are homeless at this time.
And that's a good point, because I tend to justify that moment and I separate it from like the homelessness that I faced when I went to Florida. But yeah, so I was messing around for for about 5 years in the Philly area, and my sister and my mom were moving to Florida, and that was kind of like this whole plan to save my life. Like, let's put her in a different state. Blah, blah, blah. Like, that's kind of like getting away from the problem is going to save my life. We know that doesn't work. Within the first week that I'm in Florida, I meet my new cousins, and they're like pill mill doctor shoppers in Florida. Cause like in Florida at that time, doctor shopping was insane.
It was.
That even happened is insane. But,
You hit the strip where they
yes.
got
Yeah.
like 20 doctors on one
Yes.
row. They all
You
give
Yeah.
buy your fake
your back
MRI.
pain. Yeah.
right.
I went there. Been there.
And it's just a different world. And but yeah, so funny story is, after a week of being in Florida, I panicked because it was different. They don't do dope down there. They do anyway. So I left in the middle of the night, drove like the 24 hours back to Philly, and suffered a near lethal, obviously not lethal, but I truly don't know how I'm alive from that experience. But I did overdose, and the friends that I were with kind of left me outside, no fault to their own. It's just like kind of until you're in that moment, it's hard to know what you would do,
Right.
especially
Absolutely.
before like the Good Samaritan laws protected someone from calling 911. But yeah, so that happened. They called my parents, told my mom that, you know, she should make arrangements to come up. They didn't know what I had overdosed on, and there was like a lethal dose of Xanax in my system, and they had no idea. They were just truly responding with naloxone, not understanding why it wasn't working. Nonetheless, my mom came up. Before she even got to the hospital, I signed out AMA in true fashion, wrecked my car, and then anyway, I ended up back in Florida.
Again.
Yes.
2 car wrecks.
Oh my gosh, I've trashed so many cars, but nonetheless.
How old were you, like, in this time?
So I would have been like 19 years
19.
old. Yeah.
And like, was this a Cadillac problem for you? You left PA and how you were used to things being, and then you went to Florida and you were like, that's it. I'm out of here. They don't even do drugs right. I'm leaving.
Like a snobby little like addict or something. But I did. I made it back
Philadelphia.
To,
Yeah,
I
queen of the
know.
streets.
I'm like, what is this you guys do?
You straighten that tiara up.
But I ended up back down there, and quickly was out of my mom's house, just because it doesn't matter where you put someone until their head's in the space.
Right.
Personally, that's what I believe. Like, it doesn't, you can put me in any spot, but until like I'm at least sick and tired to the point of wanting to make a change, like it's just, nothing's going to work. But,
Right.
and I wasn't there
Right.
yet. I mean, you know, just to be completely honest.
So, what did take you there?
How dark that game got. So like I said, I couch surfed in like when I was living up near Philly, and it was cool. Like at no point did I feel unsafe. Well, when I was down in Florida and I got kicked out of my mom's house the second time I went back, that's when the different world opened up. So to keep it like very, not to like traumatize anyone, but it's just, you know, the world of like sex work, borderline human trafficking, and being like truly unhoused, no couch surfing, truly unhoused. It's a different world. It's extremely unsafe for a woman. You know, you're battling like sleeping during the day, being up all night, kind of finding like your safe spots. But that's where it went. And I can't even say that it took like another 3 years of living in that space for me to actually like get to that point. And it's so hard, right? Because it's not like I was okay with that life. I would try and stop so many times. I would take myself to detoxes. And back then, I didn't have kids. I wasn't pregnant. I didn't get health insurance. So all I could get was 3 days in a detox facility.
Mm-hmm.
And we know like
Right.
that's not enough.
Florida is not PA.
No.
No, so once you
But it's
lose the
enough to-
Commonwealth.
It's enough to give you like a sober mind for a minute,
Yes.
right? So,
But you're walking out and still withdrawals.
Sure,
after
sure,
3
sure.
days.
Absolutely.
but you're
I'm
having
a
that thought,
baby.
right? So at least
Yeah.
you're still having that thought of, I need something different,
Yes.
right? And then obviously the addiction kicks in, right? Which we do have a lot of listeners that don't understand addiction,
Right.
right? Because like we at the end of the day, right? You'll have people, you know, why isn't this enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now you're in a position where, I for a lack of better terms, like you're selling yourself, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So if we're doing that, right? So, you know, a lot of listeners are going to hear that and they're going to say, well, when is enough, right? And they don't understand the addiction side of it.
Right.
Like where we're saying like enough is enough, but man, just one more bag,
Yeah.
one more double seal bulldog, right? I don't know. That's just the old school dope they had back in my
I
day,
think
right?
it's like Black Betty, yeah.
Yeah, I think I always remember them double sealed. But, you know what I mean? So at that moment, right, what is clicking in your head that's like, bro, I gotta go. I gotta do something different.
Bring up a good point, and because like addiction or like just like that, yeah, I mean addiction. I'm trying to use different words, but that's what it is. It was like leaving a relationship for me, right? It was like a form of grief.
Absolutely.
Because substances were like the one thing that always had my back, and that's what I thought.
Until they don't.
Yes. And so it was like leaving it was like the worst breakup of my life, like leaving. But I think my final, it was like almost an out of body experience was the day that it changed. And again, it's important to realize I had tried to stop, and I went to like 3 detoxes at this point for 3 days. So like just not enough. But I was unhoused, sitting outside of a Publix in Florida with a couple other unhoused individuals, and everyone's trying to figure out like what they're going to do the day. Like we used to panhandle, and we used to make really good fucking money panhandling, just saying. But I had this like, moment where I'm like looking down and thinking like, this cannot be as good as like my story. Like this is as good as it's going to get. And like, that can't be it. And so really like bridges were burned at that point in my life, most all. But I made the choice to call my father in Clarion, PA, to like at least have a roof over my head so I could make some changes and change my life around. And I think it's important to know that the fact that I called my father, we're estranged. I haven't talked to him the last 10 years of my recovery. I stayed with him for the first 6 months I was up here and then quickly got out. But that shows my desperation that I was willing to like, and I hate to say that word sometimes, but I just was going to do whatever it fucking took at that point. And I took a Greyhound bus from fucking Tampa to, I guess it was State College was as far as I could get, the 25-hour bus ride. But the craziest thing was when I left that day. So I called my dad, my brother answered, and convinced my dad to let me come up. My dad's like, okay, find your way to the bus station and I'll get you a ticket. So I walked clear across Tampa, get to the bus station. Kid you not, I walk in, they're like, oh yeah, like we can get you that ticket, but the last bus just went, so we'll have to get it tomorrow morning. And I'm like, okay. So I go sit down in the lobby and they're like, oh no, you gotta like wait outside. You can't like sit in the lobby during while we're closed. So I'm sitting outside of the bus station. 2 men come up to either side of me, doing their whole thing, like, hey, like, we like to hang out with pretty girls. You can just kind of come hang out with us. You don't have to do anything. And I know this is a lie. Like, I'm not dumb, but when you're sick and when they like keep badgering you, you kind of like are like, fuck it. Like, all I have to do is hang out with you guys. Okay. But I'm walking away with these 2 guys. They get like into their little position. All this stuff is like feeding my body in like my gut, if you will, to be like, something's not right. And we're a couple blocks away from the bus station, and everything in my body was telling me to like get the hell out of there. And in an instinct, like I just turned, started to run. The one guy grabbed like the back of my shirt, and to avoid traumatizing people, I just ran for my life back to the bus station and like sat there right in front of the doors until the next day. But when I think back to that experience, it was like this pivotal fucking moment, right? Like I was either going to die, or I was going to choose life and like
absolutely
come up to Clarion and change my life around. And I think that instant like motivates my recovery today, because it's just, it's very real for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So you get to Clarion.
So I get to Clarion.
Right? So we're in Clarion. So tell me about the recovery side, right?
Yeah.
So let's go into that.
So important to know, I'm a little unconventional in my recovery, right?
But not at first.
Not at first.
So let's start there.
I am familiar with the rooms, and I had done NAAA like while I was in Florida. Well, even back when I was in Philly, then when I was in Florida, I was constantly navigating. And when I came up to Clarion, my dad is very old school, and he's just kind of like, absolutely no MAT, no, like none of this little like anonymous shit. You just need to like kind of grow up and stop using drugs. So
sit in the basement and sweat it out.
Yeah.
Got it.
Get a job.
I literally did a home detox at his house, yes.
I get it.
So I would like sneak around. I would go to some meetings and stuff. But
I like that you sneaked to meetings.
Yeah, right. That's like not okay. But there was always this missing piece. I, for whatever reason, just never felt connected to the rooms in that sense. And I say that knowing damn right well it has saved a lot of my friends' life. So I want to acknowledge that it saves millions of people's lives. So,
Right.
but for whatever reason, it didn't connect with me. And so I went down the road of like mind and body energy medicine. And that was my recovery, was like digging down to like my fucking core and figuring out what was wrong. And like that opened up Pandora's box, right? But it was a start to healing. And so like my spirituality and just like, again, that mind body energy medicine was extremely healing for me. I was trying to figure out like almost like a purpose, like trying to give a purpose to all this shit that happened to me, and to understand like what like my role and what I played in that, and then starting that healing journey. And I would go on to like attend random meetings here and there. I just want to be very accepting of all paths, but
It's your story.
yeah.
So it doesn't matter, right? So don't edit yourself,
Okay.
right? Because like at the end of the day, like I get it, right? Like if you're not, not everybody's comfortable with AA and NA, right? And the 12-step rooms, the meetings, and it's not for everybody, right? Like it's not, at the end of the day, and that's really what this is about, man, is not everybody's road to recovery is this, is that, right?
Yeah.
Because you have to define recovery, right? And we talk about this a lot, and on damn near every episode is
It's kind of our thing.
yeah, like I'm real big on perception, right? I think perception shapes all forms of reality, and it is whatever it is going to work for you.
Yes.
Because recovery is individualized, right?
Yes.
Has to
And
be.
we talk about how it's not, and like you do hear from the other forms where it's, this is not recovery, this is how it is, and like shame on anybody, right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I cannot tell you
Right.
what recovery is, because for you it is whatever it is, right? For me, right, like I found life through the rooms of recovery.
Yep.
Because they were, I'm not going to identify which program, but the one that I went to, like I had got a sponsor, and he helped me learn how to live life, right? And I had to relearn those things. So
Yes.
like everything you're talking about is your behaviors, right? Because why do we use drugs and alcohol? That's the problem, right? The fact that you're using heroin or meth or pick one, right? Doesn't matter, right? Because like we were talking about before this started, it's a Band-Aid. That's all it is. The
Yes.
drugs and the alcohol are the Band-Aid to the trauma.
Yes.
And here's the controversial side. Since you don't want to be controversial, I
Okay,
will
cool.
for you.
He's here for it.
Not everybody who's using the drugs or the alcohol are an addict or an alcoholic, right? Because there's trauma, right?
very
And
true.
sometimes people don't know how to handle trauma. So we look for, what can I use to escape, right? And they escape. Bad shit happens, because it does.
Yeah.
And then they put the drugs and alcohol down and learn a new coping skill.
Yes.
Because it's all about learning new ways to deal with life.
Yes.
And like sometimes, and like I met somebody, man, they used heroin for 5-6 years of their life. They didn't use AA or NA to get sober,
Yeah.
but they put it down, they were able to do it. So the age-old question, because everybody will always ask, well, I met so-and-so and they were able to put down the drugs and alcohol and just walk away. Maybe that's your story,
Yeah.
right? That's not mine,
Right.
right? My story was I needed those people to help me navigate through life because I didn't know how to live,
Yes.
right? So I don't. So the controversy lies, what way is the right way?
Right.
You know what the right way is? Whatever the fuck gets you out of the problem that you're in. That's the right way, right?
Yes.
I don't give a shit how you get here, as long as you get here. Today, like, you're a decent person, right?
I
For the
think
most
so.
part, you're probably an asshole. We all are.
Deep down.
Right? But like, you're a decent person.
One of my favorite
You have,
people, for
you
sure.
have, do you have kids?
No.
Okay.
She has a really great
Good
dog,
for you.
though. Listen, her dog.
Listen,
God,
good-
you're looking out for me.
Oh, look,
in that
good
sense.
for you, right? I don't have children either. I think it's very freeing.
It
I have
is.
my cat, right?
Yes.
But no, so like, but you have family, you have friends, you have people that you care for, you love, and that you support and support you, and like, you have a job, you're paying your bills, you're not getting arrested, you're not, selling your soul anymore.
Right.
Like, that's fucking recovery, man.
Exactly.
Like, it doesn't matter how you got here,
Right.
right? So you don't have to worry
Yes.
about, offending anybody, because here's the beautiful thing with YouTube. If they don't like it, they can turn it off,
I would hope so.
right?
I would hope so.
Like, as much as I hate to
For a
say
short
that,
period of time.
yeah, like, as much as I hate to say that, like, this is your story. So if, somebody who is watching it, they are connecting to you, right?
Yeah.
That's the goal.
If they're not connecting to you, well, we have other episodes that maybe they can connect to, right? Our goal is to help be a voice for the voiceless, right? Which is what you're doing, because there are people that are stuck in where they're selling their body,
Yes.
they're selling their soul, and they're saying, I don't know how to get out. And unfortunately, society as a whole, they'll look at, we'll look at like the prostitutes, which, listen, the prostitutes are the most honest people I've ever met in my life.
I have
right?
not
Yeah.
a problem
They
with
are.
one. Not one
But
problem.
society will be like, oh, look at that whore, look at that,
Sure.
and they come up with all these labels. We're over here trying not to label. We're trying to take the stigma
Right.
away,
Yeah.
where we're saying, like,
humanize people.
people fuck up, man, and like, you
Yeah.
go through, and you said it earlier, and it's the most valuable thing you said, is no matter, until you're in that position,
Yeah.
you can't tell them.
You can't.
Right? Like, I can only tell you my experience. You can only share yours. She can only share hers. And the viewers can only share theirs. Right? And I can't, because again, perception, I can't tell you what you should do. I can tell you what I think I would do.
Right.
But I can't tell you, like, well, you should be doing this, or you got to do that, da. Because again, what works for me might not work for you, vice versa. And not only that, like, I don't know, man. I've never been a prostitute, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know the mind of that, right? So I can't tell you that. And like, I always hate when people will be like, oh, here's another, she done been with, who cares, right? Like,
Honestly.
who
Yes.
cares?
Yes. First off, we
Right.
want to do like a little lesson on human sexuality. We can, but we'll save that for another.
I got a
Do it
different-
now.
podcast.
Do it now.
I got another guess for that, but go ahead.
Well, and
I got
think,
one who
like,
specializes.
You bring up a good point. So two things that come into mind, but like something that I learned. So when I had 2 years of recovery, I went back to become an RN, which was its own fight because the state board of nursing did not want to give me a license because of my criminal history and my substance use history. But that only motivates me. So I did have to go through a probation period with them, and now I have my license. But something that I learned throughout just like all of this education and just like experience is that the majority of people that use a substance illicit, so like the majority of people that use heroin and the majority of people that use methamphetamine will not develop a substance use disorder.
Right.
So super fucking basic, but powerful, because if it was rooted in choice alone, then everyone who used would develop a substance use disorder. So that proves to us that it's like something way deeper.
Man, if you could just choose to not do it, do you know how many people would be sober right now?
Right.
Like, I can't tell you the countless people that have just been crying to me like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Don't
Just say,
know.
well, then don't. Like, that's crazy.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
You have to drive yourself down
Man,
there
first
to
of
get
all,
it.
Yes.
listen, I'm having a real ADHD moment though, real quick.
Okay.
These new chairs, I am way too comfortable.
I know. I was like, I keep trying to like move to do like the texture thing.
Yeah, no, yeah.
But I'm like, oh wait, we're recording.
So I just want
normal.
to say that because I'm over here just kicked back and
I
before
I can't reach the
anybody's
table anymore.
before anybody's
What
listening,
do the bottom of my feet look like?
I don't want people to watch this and be like, man, they are way too kicked back.
I know.
Like, understand that we just put these chairs
This
up.
is
This
great.
is literally my first
Yeah.
time sitting in them, and like I'm extremely way too comfortable.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
what was your other?
But anyways, back to you.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I just wanted
You know, I think that we, like, the three of us have a very interesting perspective because we lived that life and then we came back to be professionals, right? And there's not a lot of people that can do that, all right? And something that I really
Everybody
appreciate.
could do that.
Well, not everybody can be a good professional, okay? And in the mental health field, in the addiction field, if you turn the wrong way fast enough, you're going to find a whole bunch of people that don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And that's very unfortunate.
True.
So,
I can agree with that.
so when you have people like us that not only get it, but like truly, honestly want the best for other people and continue to try to learn things and continue to try to advocate, we get into a very different position, I think, than other people because we have to filter ourselves and be the one that does it for
Yes.
somebody else, just like you're doing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's really nice to be around people who like get it,
Yeah.
and you don't have to explain every single thing.
Yes.
Or wonder if they're relying on you.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so that's really nice. That's really nice.
Yes.
In the aspect of why I really wanted you to come on, you know? Because I've only ever known you in a professional setting. I didn't know until many years later that you actually were in recovery.
Yes.
And I met you on my unit when it was like not a good time. Not a good time. And you were in school and I was like, that one, there's something about that one.
Yeah.
And now like working with you in the community, like doing these events and hanging out with like clients in the community and things like that and seeing how you're impacting other people. I mean, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So like,
What took you there?
right. What
Because
made
like
you want to be that professional?
Let's talk about the recovery, right?
Yeah.
Like, so we're identifying as I'm in recovery. What does that look like, man? What
Right.
does that mean?
If I had to like sum it up in like a couple words, it would be, for me personally, recovery was like inner fucking peace.
Amen to that.
And like that is going to engulf like a bunch of different things, but like feeling safe with myself, like I was telling you, like trusting myself, just like, but like there's a process to that, like not just trusting myself, but like learning how to trust myself to make good decisions for myself and learning how to take a step out if like things are feeling too much, because I'm a very reactive person at my core, something that I'm constantly trying to like get better at, but I'm impulsive, and so I'll get to a spot real quick and I hang there. So really just learning how to like work with myself and find that like happiness on a level that I've never had before, and just peace, man. But something else I was going to say too is when you look at the definition of recovery, it literally has nothing to do with the presence or the absence of substances. It is soul quality of life. So however you can improve your quality of life, like within reason, I think like that constitutes as recovery. And I think that's like proving that multiple pathways exist. But then how did I be open about my recovery?
So now,
how do you? I mean, like, what do you? I mean, I just like tell people.
I just tell, like, I have never shied away from it.
Correct.
Right? Like, I worked in CYS at one point, right? I never once, I was like, no, I'm a drug addict. And people would look at me, I'd be like, no, I'm serious. Like,
don't give me the company car or
yeah,
the credit
like,
card.
Yeah, right.
like I'm in
refrain.
recovery. Like I'm in recovery, but like, yeah, nah, I'm that, right? Because I also get offended in a sense, right? And again, this is perception, because taking offense is only it's all perception.
Yeah.
But I hate when other people look down on the drug addict, or when they'll say, oh, they're just a junkie, or they're just this and that. And I'll be like, man, fuck you. Like, I'm a junkie. What?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And I've
And like,
learned.
and like, I'll
that.
do that in the professional set, because professionally, I don't care if they're in active addiction.
Correct.
Because that's what it is active addiction.
Yes.
That same drug addict that you are labeling, let them get sober. Give them like 4 or 5 years of sobriety.
Yeah.
I'll give them the keys to my house, because
Oh, yeah.
I'll trust
Honestly.
them before I'll trust like
Yeah.
the so-called upstanding citizen of society, right?
Correct.
Yeah, man, I hate that, right? So that's the only thing. I've always made it known, because like, why wouldn't you, right? Your story, you're in this field. We're all in this field. Our stories are like by nature are there to help somebody who's just like us,
Right.
going through the same thing, right?
I-
So at the end of the day, look, you're a junkie, right? You are a junkie prostitute living in the streets of wherever, right?
Yeah.
Own it, right? Like,
Well,
own
and I
it.
think it's like the lack of safe spaces that, at least that I perceived, right? Whenever I first moved here and started working in like mental health and addiction medicine, and realizing that even those spaces weren't necessarily safe.
Yeah.
And when I would
Yeah.
hear other people talk badly about that junkie or that whore, I don't feel safe to be myself. So then I like do my thing and I mask, right? And I think that's what I was doing for a while, like masking with like undercover, trying to like help people, like, listen, like, you can fucking do it, because like this is my story.
Right.
And then I don't know what changed, but it like something in me was just like, I'm done. And now I'm much more open, while also being protective of myself, because really I get to tell you, I get to disclose it and not disclose it whenever I feel safe to do so. But I know for me,
Except
like,
for
I'm very
you just
highly
put it all over
sensitive.
YouTube
Yeah.
and
Yeah, so
Spotify.
here you go.
Except for when you're with us, then.
Yeah.
No, like I'm at this point now, and like I'm very much vocal, and I think I'm a natural advocate, especially when it comes to like just harm reduction and like some of those weird things that we feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, we're getting way off subject,
Yeah.
right? So, because at the beginning of this, that's the one thing you said is I want to really discuss harm reduction,
Yeah.
right? So you had said that. Topic I so endearingly hate.
We kind of touch on it in episodes.
We tend
in
to
the past, in the future.
you know, and unfortunate, like it's not unfortunate, but like in all reality, like we have to.
We have to.
Because like, you know, it's a part of substance abuse, it's a part of mental health, and like, so we have to, right?
Yeah.
So you're an advocate for MAT, medical assisted
Everything.
treatment, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Go.
Okay. Well, okay, let's first like look at like the concept of harm reduction.
Yeah,
right?
let's just
Literally,
break that down. It's
Go ahead.
so much deeper than just MAT. MAT is just like on the
Yeah.
surface, like it just goes so much deeper.
Yes.
And he's like,
No, harm reduction does,
let her at
right?
it.
Like nowadays, like according to ASAM criteria, which most
Yes.
people don't understand what that is, and
Right,
that's okay.
right,
I'm not
right.
explaining it.
Right.
Look it up.
It's the yada yada.
It's harm reduction is like where we're supposed to have the conversation of, well, you're doing 10 bags of heroin in a week, right? Which let's try to get to 5, right? That's harm reduction, right? For me, like in my world of addiction battling, it's let's get to 0, because like still doing 5 is crazy. Now, like
Right.
I understand harm reduction and the need for it and stuff. So go ahead. I'll let you. I'll let you
So,
go from here.
Yeah, just like hear me out, right?
I'm so excited.
Because I think when we look at the concept, we're literally reducing harm. And I want to like connect that to something that doesn't feel uncomfortable. So we're going to look at healthcare and the concept of harm reduction. Everything about healthcare is designed to reduce harm. You getting your tetanus vaccine, you getting any of your vaccines, you coming in and having your leg looked at after you fell and we do an x-ray. Like, we're really trying to like individualize that treatment to reduce harm, to reduce you having a blood clot later from your broken arm. So I think at the core, we're just trying to reduce harm. And I think what my passion for harm reduction is it's a lifeline. Like I was telling you about earlier, it is a lifeline.
I agree.
It is just humanizing someone, and it's not the same as enabling. Hear me out for a second, because I know.
I'm there with her.
But just hear me out. I don't believe that I can enable you to use substances by caring about you. I don't. And that's all I'm doing is I care because I don't want you to die, because I don't want you to get HIV, because I don't want you to get hepatitis C. And that concept of me caring about you is going to open the freaking door. I promise you. And I'll tell you a story about harm reduction in my story. I was in Tampa, unhoused, sitting outside of a Circle K feet and all. And I'm sitting out there. I just like used the bathroom to get my shower. And who knows what I looked like, but I probably didn't look good. And I had these two women come up to me and they asked me if I was okay. And should I trust people? No, but I was trusting everyone. And they seemed like nice. They seemed sweet. They were like early 30s. And they asked if I wanted to come back to their house and like get a shower and they would make me something to eat. And I did. I went back to their house. I was so excited because they gave me Bath and Body Works, like, to use, and like seriously, like the littlest things. And they made me food and I was sitting there. They asked if I needed any help and I like panicked because like that compassion was so fucking uncomfortable for me. And I like, said everything was okay and I left. But I will never forget those two women. And if I get like famous over this, if you guys are out there and you remember me, like I probably look different, but let me know, because they just cared about me. They cared about my overall well-being. And that's what it is. It's like opening that door. Because if you feel safe with me, like if you feel like I'm not going to be mad at you, I'm not going to yell at you, I'm not going to kick you out, I'm going to still be here, that unconditional support, that unconditional love, you're in, baby. Like you've got that door open, and then you're going to be like, listen, I don't know if I can do this anymore, but I don't know how to not do it. And I'll be like, okay, you're in the right fucking spot. That's why I love harm reduction.
Right.
It's not necessarily like I want you to keep using. I just want you to fucking survive so that we can get you to the point of recovery, because I know you're going to like it once you're there, because we all do.
I agree with that.
Right.
Right? Like I 100% agree.
You
with
have
that.
to. Yeah.
I believe in unconditional love.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Like I don't have to like you to love you.
Yes,
At the end of the
absolutely.
day, like I love everyone, because I want everyone, even the people I don't like, I still want you to succeed.
Yes.
I don't care what has happened in life. I don't care why we don't like each other, what the problem is. I want you to be successful, because I don't wish this addiction on anyone.
Yeah.
Literally.
Right?
You don't want
So,
anyone to feel that.
I agree with that. And like
That's all.
I agree with the concept of medical assisted treatment, right? Of the MAT. Like we were talking earlier, I agree 100% with like, look, man, everybody's recovery is different. If this is what it's going to take to get you there, I'm with it, right? What I'm not okay with, is because what you're seeing nowadays, and like you work in the health field, so you'll understand, is that a lot of the times, man, we're just putting Band-Aids on top of it and telling people it's the cure.
Mm-hmm.
What was that movie?
Was it one of the recent ones?
Yeah.
4 Good Days
Yes,
with
right?
Mila Kunis.
Awful
I haven't
movie.
seen it.
I know.
Right?
I haven't
So-
seen it. Was it awful?
No.
Didn't
It's actually
like
really
it.
good. But what I hated about it was they made it like this is the cure.
Yes.
Right?
Oh.
Because she's going through all this shit. All of a sudden she gets her shot. She's good. Right? She's
Oh,
good.
boy.
And like the false hope that creates,
I
right?
know.
Because like we were talking about is, if I'm just doing MAT, then that's all I'm doing, right? If you're just taking Suboxone, that's all you're doing, right? In order for recovery, we do have to have some form of change in
Sure,
there,
right.
right? So when we're saying, here's this medication, you're going to go through some therapy, because maybe you're not there yet for the complete abstinence way, right? But let's try to get there, right? And it's working on the traumatic events that has caused us to say drugs and alcohol are my only escape, right? When we're doing that, so be it, right? Vivitrol, I think, is amazing.
Yeah.
Right? Like yes. And I didn't really I hate to throw that out there because I feel like whatever. Anyway, I think Vivitrol is actually really good. And I don't think that I don't think people talk about them enough. Yeah. Right? Like for the alcoholic, that's all you ever hear. Well, Vivitrol is a harm reduction model.
It's a complete blocker, yeah. So it'll block that receptor.
And it does the same with heroin, right? With opiates. And like
it helps with any compulsive behavior.
You'll see people
who have eating disorders that will get that. You'll see other things.
What's it do? It creates a new pathways in the brain.
Absolutely.
Right?
Neuroplasticity.
Oh my
That's
God.
what we're looking for.
So why that's not given out more, I don't know, right?
In the behavioral health realm, it is.
Yeah, behavioral health does, right? But in substance abuse, it's not.
Which is
substance abuse, like unfortunately, Suboxone reigns supreme, right?
Well, yeah.
And let's be real.
It's
right?
a for-profit world.
Amen, right?
Yeah.
But I'm with you on the shot, right? You want to take the Suboxone shot? I'm with you, because that creates a new behavior, because it takes away the rituals of putting this away. So it does create a new way of change.
Oh, yes. I love the
injectables. I'm with it.
I'm a fan of the injectables.
But at its core, it just has to be individualized, right?
It does.
It's just a tether.
You still got to have some form of counseling in there.
Yeah.
Some form of therapy.
You got to connect it to something.
You can't just say, well, I'm taking subs, so like I'm good now.
Right.
Like I got my life back together. I got a job. I'm doing this and that. Like
actually,
cool. Now let's take them away and see what happens.
I'm prescribed 16 milligrams, but I only take 2. Yeah. But if I ever go inpatient, better not change it from 16.
Right,
homie.
Yeah,
it's your intention to your honesty. That's you need to just tighten it up a bit.
And I mean, this can be, again, connected to like every different realm of of treatment, if you will. Like the fact that nothing will ever be, you take this magic pill and it goes away. You come in for your insulin. Just by you taking insulin doesn't mean anything is going to get better. You have to make diet changes. You have to learn how to be healthy. Mental health. I can give you Lexapro, but your depression's not just going to magically perfectly go away. There's got to be behavior changes or DBT or whatever.
And you're a nurse.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So a diabetic, right?
Yeah.
I'm on, let's say I'm not a diabetic, but let's say I am. I'm on insulin. I change my diet, right? I start exercising, change my diet. What happens? I don't have to take the insulin.
People have cured their diabetes with going vegan even.
But I had to start somewhere.
Right. But let me also spin this for you. You have diabetes. Okay, so I have type 2. So type 1 is congenital, meaning you're born with it. Typically at birth. Typically, don't come for me, people. Type 2 is usually based in choices, right? Which I love that because it's very similar to addiction. So when you have diabetes,
same thing.
Absolutely.
3 major treatments. You might be completely diet controlled. So by changing your diet alone, you're cool.
Right.
You might need metformin, the oral pill, and that might work. You might need insulin, like injectable sub-Q insulin.
Right.
Is one of those better, or is one of them just what you personally needed, right? Or that you personally did well on?
Yeah.
And I view recovery the same way. So that could be this or that or MAT or abstinence or I don't know. I feel like the core is quality.
Yeah.
Do you fucking feel better? Do you feel happy? Are you okay with living? Because I hated being alive when I was in active use.
Yeah.
I mean, food is the most addicting thing on the face of this earth.
That was my first
next
addiction.
to
Honestly,
nicotine.
yeah.
Next to nicotine, because we know nicotine is, but food really is, right? So like the people, and I always use diabetes as the example when
Yeah,
I'm talking
that's
to
so
families
close.
that don't understand. But even like the listeners that don't fully grasp addiction, it's like eating one potato chip.
Yeah.
You can't,
Right.
right? Like some people can. Some people can eat one and be like, "That's really great."
So this
Me,
is
I'm
like,
gonna eat one, and then you're gonna be like, "Where'd that whole bag of Doritos go?" And I'm gonna say, "I don't know, man. I hope you find it."
Not to like,
I'll help you find that. Yeah.
Right, same way with heroin, right? Same way.
not to like
Steal
kind
your
of
shit and
dive
help you
into
find
that
it.
specific. So, and we'll do we have to do conspiracy theories at a different time. But
No.
if you think we must, if you think about the standard American diet, that's literally what it's called, standard American diet. Other countries or people who are healthier just call it a sad diet because that's really what it does. Because everything that's processed and put into American food, the things that are easier and we want to come by because they make us feel better in the moment, is literally created in a process that makes it more addictive to us.
Yes.
So that we eat more, and then when your metabolism changes over life, you start getting internal fat cells, which is a different, she could tell you what the real name is. But so that external fat cell that you used to have, which could be easily exercised off, now as you're getting older in life and eating more of a sad diet, you can't exercise that off. So you need something like a GLP-1 or something like that. And so when people get that and see the result, because now the part of their brain that is telling them that they were addicted to the food, which they probably didn't even process that they were, now they're seeing an instant release. And so what did the drug companies do? They skyrocketed the cost of medication for those because they can, because who did it first?
That's why.
Drug facilities did it first.
Yes,
and it was very
100%.
successful.
That's
right?
why I eat a Japanese diet.
I mean, honestly, if people
I do.
sometimes
I
mental
do.
health, addiction, a whole bunch of other things, just change the way you're eating. Does a clean diet fix it for you? Because it a lot of the times, like there is like what would you call it? Neurological.
That like positive reinforcement loop or whatever?
No, it's more like a neurological connection to the way that you digest food, right? So your serotonin is created in your gut. So when you eat something like a ramen noodle, right? Let's just take that for example. That takes it could take upwards, I think, of 3 years to fully digest a ramen noodle. That sits in your gut where you produce your serotonin. So the more sad diet you eat, the less you're able to physically, metabolically create your own serotonin.
Yes.
And if you can't create your own serotonin, then you can't create your own dopamine. And if you can't create your own dopamine, then oxytocin is the only thing that you have currently dumping into your brain to overtake everything, which creates addiction because it creates that tiny little bit of relief. And so you're no longer looking for sustaining, you're looking for instant release. And so you continue to do this uncomfy feeling, relief, uncomfy feeling, relief. And for some people, that's ice cream. For other people, that's heroin, And so either way you do it, it is what it is. And so things like naloxone or Vivitrol can help that whole process, but people are finding it now in insulin industry, which is then tanking not only the beauty industry, but also the medication industry.
Yes.
And you'll see it'll soon hit the addiction industry in some sort of fashion for sure. So it's just like this continual rotation. And so
Let's
when
not
you're
go
people
into
like
that rabbit
us,
hole.
I know we'll do conspiracies later, but
No, we
like
won't.
when you're people like us, you consistently see a change in the type of client that you have come in. And sometimes even if it's the same client over a period of time, there's such a drastic change.
So let me ask this, all right? Let's go back to the subject. You're a nurse. So,
Sometimes I forget. Like, I can't believe that. Yeah.
well, that's awesome though, right?
I'm like, oh shit, that
you
happened.
you guys don't get enough.
You got scholarships and
credit.
things I saw.
Well, you guys don't get enough credit. Like, you guys do a lot, right? I know, like, my grandmother was a nurse. My aunt was a nurse. Like, I know when I'm sick, I don't want to talk to a doctor, right? I want a nurse because they actually know their shit.
100%.
Right? Well, they know what's happening. Like, they're the only ones listening. Right? I've had doctors before where they've come in, like, because I have IBS, right? Like, I'm talking, and I'm like, this guy is a fucking jackwagon. He didn't listen to anything I said.
Mm-hmm.
The nurse done pulled up a chair. She listened to everything. She's telling the doctor, no, you're wrong. This is what the problem is, right? So
doctors enjoy that.
So you guys don't get enough
Yes.
credit. So, you know, like I'll thank you personally for being a nurse. Like I appreciate your unselfish desire to help, because that's what a nurse really is. It's very unselfish. So being a nurse, what do you do when you see the addict coming in that is, you know how we do, tying your shoes with your lips, but you're like, no, I'm not high, right? You gnawed it out so bad, you're tying your shoes with your lips, talking about, no, I'm all right? So when old Joey Bag of Donuts comes walking in, who's, you know, high as shit, what are you doing to help that? Like, how does your life imply that?
I mean, everything I do comes from that humanizing point of view. So, I mean, you come in, you're using, I from day one, when I meet someone, I try to create a safe space for them. And when I say safe, like, it has to be fully spaced. So there's no requirements to this safety. You don't have to fit a certain agenda. I think it's just the way, like, I talk to people, because education is like my big thing. So immediately, I'm going to go into like education, which is going to align with a harm reduction aspect. And you can see people, like, whenever I'm sitting here, like, okay, so let's talk about like safer using techniques, right? And it makes people uncomfortable and it's not enabling, but this person's going to leave and use regardless of what I say. So at least I'm going to protect them from dying or developing an infection over it. And so we talk raw, real conversations about just harm reduction, and like, and it gets to the point where we don't even care about, we do urine drug screens because whatever regulations say we have to, but people come into our space dead honest every time. Hey, I used yesterday. I've been using methamphetamine like every day. And we meet them where they're at.
Big ups to them, right? Because not everybody does.
Yeah.
It's always amazed me, like, working in different rehab facilities and stuff, watching people come in and they're like, well, I'm not high. And it's like, buddy, listen, you're going to go.
Poppy seed bagel this morning.
You're going to go meet with the nurse.
Poppy seed bagels.
And, like, if you're not honest with the medical people, they can't tell you what's wrong.
Yes.
Nobody's going to arrest you. This isn't about judging you.
Yes.
Nobody cares right now. What we do care about is, please be honest with your man. Like, we should advocate for that more. Is if you're going to the hospital, if you're going in front of a medical professional,
right,
be fucking honest.
Literally, no one cares.
Not only that, you're protected by HIPAA.
Right. Yep.
Nobody's gonna run and tell everybody. Right. Like, you have to be honest with those people.
Right.
Like, your doctor, your nurse, your whoever. Like, you have to be. Like, I know, like, I've up at the emergency room.
Yes.
I was talking to one of the emergency room doctors, and they're like, just getting these people who come in, and I'll be like, no, like, you're on meth. And they're like, they'll sit here and swear up and down they're not. And I'm like, buddy, I have the test results.
Right.
Like, I can see what's in your blood. Like, there's crystal meth in there. Well, I haven't used in like 6 or 7 days. Then it would be out of your system. Like, it's in your system. Yeah. Right? And it's like, man, you're not going to get the proper treatment.
Correct.
No, and I'll also send a message to the fellow healthcare workers. I mean, they have their own role to play in that and creating that safe environment for people.
She's not wrong.
Because I challenge my fellow nurses when I see that stigma and that discrimination, because, come on, we know that, like, one of the biggest reasons for folks developing nasty infections related to substance use is delayed care. Why is it delayed care? Because they might not feel safe going to the hospital if they were treated poorly. Or, like, when I overdosed, I heard the nurses laughing about how disgusting I was and how they should, like, wait longer next time to, like, get the naloxone for me. And I still remember that. And so people remember that shit. It's the elementary thing of, they never forget what, or, like, you may forget what someone says, but you never forget how someone makes you feel. So
Absolutely.
just a message to like fellow healthcare workers is like, just treat people with freaking compassion.
Similar with the mental health, right?
Yes.
Because like I have somebody really close to me, and I'm not gonna throw it out there, but they're really close to me, that they have mental health problems,
Yes.
right? And like 0 to 100 real quick,
Yeah.
right? And
Those are my
you know,
favorite.
where I've watched where he has reached out for help, and people be like, "Oh, he's crazy. Oh, he's insane.
Like right away.
Oh, this. I can't believe he would be doing this. Why can't you believe it? Like if we know mental health is real, we know substance abuse is real. We know these disorders are real, right? I can't, like, why would you not believe they're acting that way?
Yes.
Same, like, if a cancer patient comes in
Yeah.
and is like throwing up and they're sick, all you see is, oh my God, oh, da, 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 da. We have to have that same compassion for the guy who's running in the hospital talking about the FBI is monitoring his conversations, and
They
there's-
might be.
there's-
It might be,
You know?
though.
It has come to be true in certain
I mean,
In
yeah,
some
I've had a
situations,
couple
guys, right?
patients.
And-
I've had a couple patients
but-
where, like, they're
They
getting
went
into
wrong.
arguments with the neighbors, but they're literally Googling how to make bombs. The FBI really is. You can't Google how to
Right,
make bombs,
so-
you know? Like,
but like, in all honesty, like, there are people out there, and I don't know why, but like every time somebody uses meth, it seems like the feds are out to get them.
Yeah, I
Right?
know. I think
But,
it's
like,
the
It might
serotonin.
not be real.
Yeah.
Like, I had a guy, man, he was one of my best friends, and he's up in prison now, but when he comes home, he'll be on the show.
I think you talk about
I'm
him every
excited.
time.
I know, I love
every
him
show,
dearly.
you're like, he's away. He's coming.
He
I can't wait
he
to
came
meet
in front of he came in he come to get help one time, right? He had just got out of prison. He come home for a minute, and he was standing there, and you know, luckily I was there. Somebody came out and they were like, "Hey, do you know so and so? Come get him." And I walk out, and he's like, "You guys can kill me, Tyler, but you gonna tell me why?" And I'm like, "Bro, don't nobody want to kill you." And he's like, "Then you tell me why I see people talking in the coffee pots." And I'm like, "Because, man, like, you're doing some shit that really got to you. Let's get in the car and go get some mental health help until I can get you into rehab after that." And he did. But beforehand, everybody, "Oh man, he's crazy. Oh man, he's just..." No, he's struggling because there's really people in a coffee pot talking to him right
Right,
now.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
If somebody with dementia comes up to you and they're talking about
People are horrible to those people, too.
when
It's
they're
so sick.
when they were 12
Yeah,
years
makes
old,
me
the
cry.
shit that happened, are you going to dismiss them and be like, "Well, you know, I can't believe they're acting like that"?
Yeah, I've gotten into arguments
You know?
with
It's
with
crazy.
fully licensed professionals working clocked in on a unit about how they were pissed off that, you know, 83-year-old so-and-so who's been living in the hospital for at least 3 months has thrown his coffee away and demanded more. Get him the coffee.
Yes.
Yeah,
Get
wait
him
till
the
I get there.
coffee.
I'm coming to
Oh,
a
they don't
nursing
like it
home
when
near
I show
you.
up either. Yeah,
Right.
sometimes I get asked to leave units, but you know what?
just-
I've never, if I've been right about advocating for a patient, I've never been really reprimanded for showing up for him.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I'll advocate. I'll play career suicide for
Honestly.
a client, right? Like
100%.
at the
I'll
end
sign
of the
papers
day,
right now.
there's like, and I know there's different agencies out there. They hate when I'm on like when I'm assigned to a client or
Right.
whatnot, and even the former agency I worked at, right? While I was working there, hated it
Yeah.
because like I'll advocate. I'll be like, "No, like you're wrong,"
Right.
right? I remember like even in that system,
You want my
they
supervisor's
had
name and number? I'll
cockroaches.
spell it for you.
I had a case. I had a case come through. They were like, "Well, they got cockroaches." I'm like, "So,
Right.
get rid of them." And they're like, "Well, we gotta open the case." I can't believe they'd have
Matter
cockroaches.
of fact, there's free programs to get rid of
but that goes
cockroaches,
into
so
what you-
just do it.
But that goes into what you were saying, right? Is unfortunately, there's people that have never been in them shoes,
Right.
right? And like, there's people out there that don't know how to put themselves in other people's shoes either. Because, like, in
That's
that
hard.
particular situation, I'm like, so get rid of them. Well, they can't live like that. No, they can.
No,
like,
you don't wanna live
You
like
don't want to
that.
be that way.
Right.
Doesn't mean that it's wrong. And, like, it's just cockroaches. They make this shit at the dollar store. Works really good.
Honestly.
It comes in a thing. You add water, shake it, go put it around the house.
And
they'll
it
be
works.
dead.
Yeah.
Right? So I luckily the family was able to, they wanted to find a new apartment anyway. So they were like, we can just move. I was like, yup, let's move so I can close this fucking case because I shouldn't be here.
Yes.
Right? And, like, that's the judgmental side of it, man. And, like, that's,
Yeah.
I don't know how the fuck we ended up here on this conversation.
So you figure that, okay, so you specialize with women's health, really.
Yes.
And you have been in our community, which is a small, I don't know if uneducated is the word, unliterate to certain problems
Yes.
is definitely a term.
Yes.
A large part of just our inner city, which the whole county has like 10,000 people, so inner city's not that big. Over 50% are below poverty line. So they suffer from a lot of social, economic injustices and pieces that will lead to addiction or needed healthcare service. So
Yeah.
what are your goals or what drives you to keep doing that here in our town, and what do you want to do?
Well, big focus I'm interested or working with right now is reentry, right? Reentry from the criminal justice system into society. I do like a support group with the women at Venango County Jail, and we talk about like life, right? We talk about like healing from life. Because it just breaks my heart to, you get sent away to a cell with no form of actual like rehabilitation or healing, and then you're supposed to walk out and be a different person. So
This is Tyler's favorite topic,
so I love reentry, and I think
we have a whole episode dedicated to that.
honestly.
Well, then I'll be quiet a little bit, but it's my focus, and I've been going into
awesome.
the jail
It's
since
awesome.
Thanksgiving of this past Thanksgiving, and I'm not pushing a certain agenda. We're just talking about life and healing and how to just make change.
Yeah.
And it's so fucking awesome. And
Have
so
you hit the state yet? The state prison system?
If they'll let us.
And
I have
It's hard to get
emails out, so
I-
you guys are,
Hard to
I'm-
get in. Go figure, they don't actually want
I
you
know
to
some
rehabilitate
people.
too well.
No, I know some
Oh,
people.
I was gonna say something.
Like, we could get in there. I know some people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I
big for
love-
me because all my a lot of my friends are in the prison, and I hate this system, and I hate where they do that, right? Like the guy I was just talking about,
Yes.
they saw people in a coffee pot. He did 10 years upstate, come home, and they dropped his ass off in the county park
Yep.
down here, and he's like, well, I've
Set
been
up the
gone
jail.
for 10 years.
Yes.
I don't know a single soul.
Yes.
Where am I
Set 'em up.
supposed to go?
Yes.
Right? He didn't
Set
have a
'em up,
cell
knock
phone,
'em down.
nothing. And he had no reentry program, right? And even the reentry programs that exist,
I'm gonna be quiet.
I won't. They fucking suck.
Yes.
They could go, fuck them.
Even
Like-
the dog programs are not great. They
No,
don't do harm
man,
reduction
these-
for the canines
Well,
either.
these
I know,
systems, man,
it's there, but
suck.
Jesus.
Like, they got the center down in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Prevention
Right.
point.
Man, it ain't nothing but a bunch of pedophiles,
Oh.
right? And fuck them, right? And I can say that because we're not monetized, or maybe we are. At
Who
the
knows
end
by
of
the time
the,
this airs?
I mean, who cares, right? Because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, our viewers agree, right? I mean, I had my buddy went in there, and he called me. He's like, "Ty, I'm going back to prison." I'm like, "What? Wait."
hard to
I'm like,
flex.
"What's going on?" He said, "Bro, there are 15 pedophiles here.
Yeah.
I am not doing this with these guys. I can't get away from them.
Right.
And the shit they talk about, I'm either killing them
It's hard.
or I'm gonna just go finish my sentence."
It's hard.
And he's like, "I'm going to finish my sentence,
Yeah.
right?" And I can't even be mad at that. I
That's
get
fair.
it. The pedophiles, man, we shoot them all in the damn head. And that, maybe that's my personal opinion. I don't know, but because there are people out there that are there's help for them, and my help is yeah, we got 38.
It's the
you know?
same with personality disorders. There are a few that I've met And that is a hardwiring evil person, okay?
Yes.
And like,
Yes.
I can't explain to you that the one guy that I met kicked my dog and told me that he was going to shower him in my dog's blood. And that was just because the dog was getting positive attention and he wasn't. Like true narcissism, right?
Right.
Horrible things to kids that he had on purpose to grow up and do horrible things to. Fucked up, okay?
Right.
But there's people that get molested at a young age who then end up molesting, or they got molested because they have special needs that no one was addressing because people are healthcare, mental health illiterate again, with, you know, disparities and all these things against them.
Sure.
And so a lot of the time when there's people like that, they get trapped in the system of, look at all the bad things that they've done. Is that bad? Absolutely. Did they have the mental comprehension to understand that it was bad? Because it was also happening
That's
to
different,
them.
right?
Right. So I have a fence that I live on, and I will live on that fence because I never know who I'm going to
I think we all do. I think
Yeah.
every human being out there, even our listeners, right? Because again, a lot of people that listen to us are from the system, right? And we all agree that pedophiles are the lowest form of life, right? And there's also that side that says, but tell me the story.
Right. I
Like,
couldn't tell you
how
that I
did it
wouldn't
happen?
commit murder
Right.
if I ever found out something, you know,
Sure.
like, however.
And there's always
I'm gonna
those
listen.
people, like, we're going to listen, like,
Unless it's a little too close, then I'm,
maybe
you know, it's hard. That's
maybe
a hard
it is a mental,
Yeah.
maybe there is a
Know
mental
your
defect,
strengths.
right? You know, and obviously, what do we call it now? What's the new proper term?
For what?
MR, is it still MR?
Yeah, ID, intellectual
ID now?
disabilities, yeah.
Okay, so there are people with ID
Right.
that, like, yeah, man, some shit, like, come on.
A box of rocks. I've
Right?
met some.
Like,
it is a box of rocks.
it's
up there.
like, come on,
I
man.
mean, I'm very
But then
sorry.
there's
it
people
is.
that are like, nah, like, you know.
Yes,
Right?
and
Like,
I've met
you
them,
got
and
the
you know those
capacity,
ones.
you know.
Right.
So therefore 38 would be a good solution, right?
I'm telling you, I'm very pro
Man, we're gonna
Kevorkian.
get this banned from
What
YouTube by
time
the
is
time
it?
we gotta change the subject. We're gonna
It's
get
okay.
banned. They're gonna shut our whole channel down. They just took us out of the algorithm.
Looking at systemic failure for
Like
reentry.
PETA for humans.
Back to reentry, right? Reentry. So like that's awesome that you're doing a reentry program because the
Yeah.
programs do suck. So
Because
Yeah.
nothing
Glad to
changes
see
if
you.
nothing changes.
Right.
And that applies to
Absolutely.
recovery and that applies to systemic failures.
And you're in the
Absolutely.
community trying to do events, trying to bring awareness. I mean, you're
Yeah.
really out there. I mean, you know, and especially in our community, not a lot of people have done that. So people have come up to me like, oh, you're doing this podcast. Not a lot of people talk like that in our county. Talk like what? Transparent?
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. I mean, I came
I
into
think
this
everybody's talking like that.
county 2 years ago, and I think I'm finally starting to be a little accepted. I think I
Ugh.
come on strong, and I think I have some strong views, and I think it's so important, like, for people to listen and don't listen to respond. Just freaking hear me out, and like, here's some of these topics. Just listen, and don't listen to respond. But
Absolutely.
Oh, honey, I'll tell you, this county, it's not what you know till you know,
I'm
unfortunately.
gonna make changes.
So,
okay.
It sucks.
I only have
roll.
20
It
years left to
sucks.
take over the world. You can help me.
It sucks that you felt that way.
Yeah.
Moving here to a new area and you feel like, you know, you can't even work in as a nurse or whatnot and feel accepted because this county, it is, man, like this is like a generational, this family is this family, they've known these people and these people.
Very much.
And like, and it sucks, right? Like it sucks
Yeah.
for the person
Yeah.
who's just coming into this area because
Yeah.
like our area is dead. It's really struggling. We
Yeah.
are one of the poorest areas in all of Pennsylvania that is really struggling.
Correct. We are also one of the only counties in the world, the United States, that has such a high addiction to specifically opioids.
Yeah, that's why we received all those.
Well,
grants.
so,
Correct.
and
And what
that's
are we
also
doing with the
bullshit.
grants?
That's also
different
bullshit,
episode.
right?
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, like we talk about this, I promise you, this
We'll censor
area
that one.
really doesn't know what an opiate epidemic is.
They have no
Yeah.
idea.
Like
Yeah.
we talk about it because like we have everybody dying, and right now we're starting to see that because
Yes.
people are dying from fentanyl.
Yes.
But you are in the meth capital of
Yes.
our, not only our state, but damn near the whole United, right?
Mhm.
Like crystal meth and cocaine have always reigned supreme here
Yep.
for years, right? And the only reason why people are dying like this is because fentanyl is around,
Yep.
right? Like we had heroin. Heroin was on a cycle. Like it would come in, it'd come to this area for like 6 months, 7 months, and then it would disappear.
Mm-hmm.
I always
Right.
wondered how it worked here. Because
That's how it
You
would
get it
work.
from the city,
Do
you
you
bring it
drive
up
to
It would,
here.
it would come,
Yes.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
That's what I wondered.
It would come in for a couple months, disappear. Oxys were oxys; they were here, right?
Right.
But the
Such a
heroin,
high
that's how,
elderly
that's all
population.
heroin was. And like everybody would, oh, there's this huge opiate problem, and I'm just sitting there like, yeah, we got a meth lab in the attic, right? There's not an opiate problem here. And everybody on though ain't on it, right? Because everybody was on meth and cocaine.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, man, it's interesting.
And
in
meth
our
withdrawal, it
thing.
is tough. That was like my second drug of choice,
is.
and it is a dark.
Mentally, it'll fuck you up,
Psychologically.
man. I hated every
Comfort
minute of it.
meds are important. Just saying.
Hated
Healthcare
every minute
providers,
of it.
Don't make people suffer. It's not a life. Doesn't have to be an endurance test. It's not like how much can you take before you're worthy of like
Yeah,
feeling better.
I hope that people start to realize that.
I do
Yes.
too. So we went all over the place.
Yes, we did.
That's kind of our thing.
That's our thing. We all have ADHD. So
Yeah.
welcome to our world. It's why our logo are these nightmare heads, because this is how we think.
Yes.
But
This is I really did.
So-
I always tell myself that it's like just outer space up
Yeah.
there.
so
A bunch of circles connecting.
I appreciate you for
Yes.
the work that you do. I appreciate
you.
that you're a nurse.
Yeah, you're
I
incredible.
appreciate the outreach program, and I appreciate everything you're doing. I hope that you continue to give your story,
Yes.
and hopefully don't be worried
Yeah.
what other people are going to think.
Live
just do it.
authentically. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. Because at the end of the day, what people think of you is none of your business anyway.
Very true.
Right? Doesn't matter. It has no bearing on your life. I promise you, somebody, if they are like, man, fuck this girl, da 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 da, I promise you still are gonna sleep fine at night, right? It ain't gonna matter.
Ass naked with the fan on.
So-
high.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
You'll be fine, right? So at the end of the day, man, like, again, I appreciate you coming
Thank
out.
you.
I appreciate you very much.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys.
I'm so
This was
excited
good.
you said yes. I was like,
I was so excited. I was like, ooh, so someone wants me to open my mouth? Okay. I'm so excited. Okay.
Well, as always, because we have gone way too far.
we're not
And-
doing too bad.
I mean, we're like an hour and 16.
Yeah.
So I hope that we haven't lost you, and I hope you're still here. I hope that you keep tuning in. The support is amazing. We're almost at 2K.
2K as we're recording this show. And it was your birthday yesterday, so everybody say happy birthday to
Oh.
Tyler.
Yeah, it was my
Aries
birthday.
season.
It was. I went to
Yikes.
Comic Con.
No,
I
Aries
went
are
down
my
to
favorite.
Comic Con.
Really?
And had a great time. So
That's cool.
it's good.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It was fun because my girlfriend's never been to one.
Oh,
So
really?
Took her down there, and she was in awe. It was
I
cool.
bet she was.
She liked
It
it.
is like unlike.
She's real big into anime, so
Yeah,
That's
that's
really
cool.
great.
the anime world and the comic book world go hand in hand.
Yes,
Sure.
they
so,
do. Yep.
It was cool. So
I like Saga. Just saying. Okay.
I like Power and Demon Slayer. I got the big tattoo
Yeah.
of her right there.
I
So.
love Demon Slayer.
But
Demon's
anyway.
really into it.
All right, man. Listen, you guys could have been anywhere in the world today, but you're here with us, and for
ADHD.
that, I appreciate you greatly. We love you dearly. Like, share, subscribe, send it to your friends, and if they haven't liked it, shared it, or described it to it, make them.
Yeah.
Force them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously.
So, that's all
Use
I got,
harm
man.
reduction to do so.
So that's it. So
Thank you.
Say your
Yeah.
thing.
Keep happy hour happy.
All right, man. So, coming back.
Thank you for watching.